Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this guide looks at how to compare young driver car insurance policies. And we've done a full sample of the market, so looking at the major 5 insurers and trying to determine which car insurer is best for young drivers. The answer really is it's going to come down to you getting quotes, because there's such a massive variance between all of the providers, between all of the insurers, that there's so many data points being used that it's really the best and the only way to find out what's right for you is to do the comparisons with your data, with your specific car, with your age, with your address, everything that they ask for. That way you'll get the right quote. Normally with car insurance, there's not that much of a spread of risk. Like this is for anyone who's not a young driver, but for young driver, some of the car insurance are very, very fearful, and thus the pricing is ridiculous. Just as a background, you will need to pay higher excess for the event of any accident or claim, and so just be aware of that, and that's something to factor in like if and when you need to build like an emergency fund for paying for not only your car insurance but also anything to do with a car problem. And then also there are some car insurers which won't insure young drivers, so just keep that in mind. And as we say, please compare as many quotes as possible. We just saw such a big range, and that it was definitely worth it was absolutely worth to compare. We also noticed that if you pay up front, then it's going to be cheaper than paying it monthly or fortnightly, and certainly car insurers like to be paid up. So people ask us, what's the best here? Should we go third party, which just covers you for accidents of someone else's car, so you're not being chased to fix theirs and repair it? And the alternative to that is comprehensive, which means your car will be fully fixed, and naturally comprehensive is more expensive. And that's a very good question, and the answer really comes down to it's about the risk and it's about the value of your car. So we've just put a short example there, and you can kind of work through that yourself. You can also get quotes for a fully comprehensive as well as third party, see what works for you. And if you want to take the risk and drive your car knowing that if there is an accident under third party that you're at fault for, then you won't be covered in terms of fixing your car, and that's just a risk that you may want to take. But at the same time, you do know the price for comprehensive. So we can't give an answer to that. We've just given some guidance and some understanding of how this may work. We have shortlisted some insurers, and we continue to monitor the pricing. But the reality is you're going to have to go out and get quotes, I would say, from everybody, just to determine what the actual price is. So they're looking at a whole bunch of different things when they give you a quote. They're looking at your age. So I would say that, and it's pretty much statistically accepted, that younger drivers, much younger, so 17-year-olds will be paying more than 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, how long you've had your license, and whether or not, of course, you select comprehensive or third party, and then your car model and its value. And we know there that hatchbacks with small engines are cheaper to insure, and that's just obvious because the parts are cheaper. And whereas if you go for a European car or some sort of luxury car, that's of course going to be more expensive because the risk, the cost to the insurer is much higher should there be an accident. So the next point here is where you live, and that's going to determine the price of your insurance and also how the car is parked. So if you park it in a locked garage, that's great for the insurer. It's less likely it'll be stolen. If it's parked out on the street, then it's got a higher risk of being stolen, or someone hitting it. So they do sort of assess that. Secondly, whether or not your car's had modifications, and that can make it more attractive to thieves. And some modifications actually just invalidate a whole insurance altogether. So be careful there. And then your annual mileage, what you expect to drive it as, how you'll pay. So as I said prior, if you pay annually, it's likely going to be cheaper. And then the excess that you choose. So this is really important, because if you have a low excess, then the insurance policy is going to be higher. This means that if you want to minimize what you pay when you have an accident, or if you have an accident and a claim, then it's, yeah, so basically if you did a $500 excess, then plus your young driver's surplus on that, then that's going to be more expensive than if you did a standard $900 excess. So that's why a lot of parents will complain that, oh, we had some incident and there's a $2,000 excess or an $1,800 excess, but the damage wasn't really that much at all, and what's this going to mean? That's your choice to make, but it's certainly expensive to be a young driver, and the excess is something that you do have some variance in being able to determine what you'll pay, or some choice there, but of course that will affect what you pay for your annual policy. So just look at that, and then the driver's named on the policy. So if there's someone older that's going to share the car with you, that can actually bring down the cost, because it's less risky. It's kind of a shared car. But if it's you driving it all the time and you're a 17-year-old, then that's going to be comparatively more risky to a car insurer. So thus they'll price it higher. So basically, as I've said already 3 times, you've got to compare. I can't make that clearer, and that's threaded throughout this guide because we just know that there's been such a variance in these prices. So we did a quick summary for one car that's based in cities around the country, and we found that, you know, for male and female, it's really just such a big difference. I mean, we can see here that state was charging $2,500, whereas AMI was charging $1,200, and we just know that you're just going to have to look at what the prices you get back and then make a choice from there. Make sure you look at the standard excess, and make sure that you look at the young driver's excess, because that's really important, because that will be a big factor if you need to pay. And then, yeah, so we've done a little summary of the total excess, but that certainly adds up, and it certainly can get quite pricey. So just be aware of that. And finally, so the best car insurance is, we've got some tips here, and it's just really start comparing, look at what suits you best. It could be comprehensive, it could be third party, and then make sure you choose the appropriate excess. If you have any questions, we've got some frequently asked questions which tend to be quite helpful, and you can go through those. If you have any questions further to these, then please comment down below, or you can send us an email and we'll update our guide should this question not be asked, and also not be on our guide already. And then we've looked at some things about roadside rescue versus the AA, so that's also worth keeping in mind as well. There's a lot of information on this guide, especially the frequently asked questions, to help you through the final pieces. And so what we do is we've also listed the cheapest cars to insure, just in case you're looking to buy, and that will give you some indication as to why. So these hatchbacks are all quite cheap to insure, cheap to replace, cheap parts. And then you've got Subaru Legacies and Subaru Imprezas, which are forever fans of thieves. I would argue that the Primera has been known to be liked by thieves, but of course not as much as these other ones. So be very aware of that you can buy a nice car and it may be in these low, or it may be in these high. And certainly if you are looking to get a car before the insurance, if you're doing research now, then do see what different models will quote in it, because it might be quite significant. Like an Impreza that you want might be very different to a Honda Civic that you're getting secondhand from a family friend or from a relative. So yeah, bear in mind all those things. And of course, when you do come to get the quotes, just you'll have your age, your address and your license type, and then your car registration number or the car model. That'll be fine as well if you don't have a car yet. And then whether or not you want a comprehensive third party or third party in fire and theft, and then how you plan to use the car, plus your driving history. So all of those things will be asked, and probably a few other not as pertinent questions, but still ones that help the insurers give a quote, and then you can go from there as to whether or not that quote is worthwhile. We've got some other relevant guides here. We've got one on general car insurance, which is worth checking out, third-party car insurance, and also we look at the differences in policies between the major insurers for car. So thanks very much for watching. I hope this helps. Best of luck with your driving. If you have any questions, as I say, please leave a comment below, / you can also send us an email. Thank you.